A stray puppy is blind, and the vet recommends euthanasia. But then Boots, the resident cat, does something remarkable, and this is just the beginning. The end of the story is a true miracle at the veterinary clinic. Janice clutched the stray puppy and kept it close to her chest to share her body heat. She found the little dog in an alley on her way home. Dr. Sumner's frown deepened when he examined the tiny creature. This is bad, Janice, and those eyes are a problem. The puppy is completely blind. His voice trailed off. He ran his gentle hands over the puppy one more time. With each soft murmur, Janice's heart sank further into her stomach. Blindness is just the start, Dr. Sumner said. The little one's underdeveloped, probably didn't get enough nourishment from the mother. He looked Janice straight in the eye. We need to put it down, he said. I know it sounds horrible, but sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. Janice's mind raced. Blindness she could handle, but this constant suffering, each tiny whimper from the puppy felt like a nail hammered into her heart. Tears blurred her vision. I understand, she choked out. Dr. Sumner nodded. There was a deep understanding in his eyes. He began to move, but Janice's hand shot out and stopped him. She begged for a few moments with the pup to say goodbye. He paused, then gave a small nod. This, he knew, was the hardest part of all. As Janice gathered the whimpering puppy into her arms, the vet quietly left the room. Alone in the sterile room, Janice cradled the puppy, now christened Nandy. The name felt impossibly bittersweet. She stroked the damp fur and whispered apologies and promises of peace. The door creaked open. Janice braced for Dr. Sumner's return. Instead, a streak of sleek tabby fur padded inside. This was the clinic cat, a familiar sight. The feline usually gave Janice a wide berth. Today, however, that indifference was abandoned. The cat ignored her and jumped onto the examination table. It zeroed in on Nandy. At first, Janice froze. She'd heard cats could attack small animals. But this was no attack. The cat sniffed Nandy, then began a thorough grooming. It licked the shivering puppy from nose to tail. Nandy was too weak to resist. As the cat worked, the dog's body relaxed under the rhythmic licks. Her eyes were still unseeing, but they were no longer filled with terror, a glimmer of something. Was it contentment? Janice watched in disbelief. Could this simple touch be what Nandy craved? The tears flowed, but they were now fueled by a different emotion. If this tiny blind puppy could find a flicker of comfort from a grumpy old clinic cat, could she really be the one to end it? A few moments ago, the decision was made in a moment of anguish, but suddenly it wasn't so clear-cut anymore. Dr. Sumner returned with a gentle sedative and a soft blanket, but the exam room was empty. He walked into the hall. The scene outside was both unexpected and heartwarming. The tabby cat, Boots, was curled around the puppy. Nandy was still weak and wobbly, but the pup leaned into the bigger cat's side, and her tiny tail thumped weakly. Janice was perched on a chair. She won't leave her, she said. Every time I picked Nandy up, Boots hissed and circled until I put her down again. Dr. Sumner observed silently. This was far from textbook animal behavior, but there was a clear shift in Nandy. She attempted to bat playfully at Boots' ears, and when a small bowl of puppy kibble was placed in front of her, Boots nudged her towards it. Well, the vet said, I might have been a little hasty, but we need to manage expectations. She's still fighting a battle. Janice was already nodding. Nandy might be a different kind of puppy, and she might need a different kind of care, but that flicker of spirit, lit by an unexpected feline nurse, clearly wouldn't be extinguished without a fight. Dr. Sumner left the decision in Janice's hands and departed on his rounds. Janice took the pup and the cat home. Under Boots' watchful guidance, Nandy explored her tiny domain. The cat became an extension of her senses, a furry, purring guide leading her to food, water, and a hastily set-up litter box. Boots waited patiently as Nandy clumsily navigated the room. Each time she bumped into furniture, a gentle nudge from the cat guardian corrected her course. a glimmer of playfulness broke through. Nandy clumsily snagged the cat's tail and earned a gentle swat from Boots. There was an understanding in the cat's amber eyes of protectiveness that went beyond simple instinct. Nandy found safety in her furry guardian, and in that safety, her true puppy spirit began to emerge. A week later, Dr. Sumner was astonished. This wasn't the weak, barely clinging to life puppy he'd left with Janice. Nandy had put on weight, her fur was glossy, and her movements less hesitant and more playful. "I don't understand this," the vet said as he examined the pup's clouded, blind eyes. "She shouldn't be this healthy, and definitely not this spirited." His gaze settled on Janice for a moment. She squirmed under his scrutiny. She told him it was all Boots, and then she told him the story of the cat's unwavering guardianship. Dr. Sumner listened intently. Finally, he sighed. "It's still a huge commitment, Janice. A blind dog needs extra care and specialized training, and there's the cost of ongoing vet checks." He left the rest unspoken: Janice's modest apartment, her work schedule, and the harsh reality that care meant money. Janice knew he was right. She told him she'd manage. She'd made the calculations in her mind. She'd take on extra shifts, sell things, do what it takes. Nandy didn't just deserve a chance. She'd earned it. Her life had turned around with a little help from a most unlikely furry friend. The next weeks were a roller coaster of change. Janice, armed with internet articles and advice from a surprisingly helpful Dr. Sumner, transformed her apartment. Rolled-up rugs vanished. Instead, there were now smooth floors for Nandy to navigate. Low furniture was pushed against walls to clear pathways. A bell-lined collar became Nandy's early warning system. It jingled merrily as she explored. Boots oversaw the transformation with the detached air of a seasoned supervisor. She became Nandy's shadow. A soft headbutt guided the puppy away from corners, and a gentle tap of her paw sent a toy skittering within Nandy's reach. In the narrow hallway, Boots led the way on their first tentative walk. Nandy followed the confident swish of her tail. The jingle of her collar echoed Boots' own quiet steps. Janice watched this silent communication with tears in her eyes. This was one stray helping another, one abandoned cat finding purpose in guiding a lost puppy. Her apartment might be small, she thought, but the love that filled that simple space felt immeasurable. In time, Nandy blossomed. With Boots as her guide, the small apartment became her kingdom. She learned to recognize Janice's footsteps, the crinkle of a treat bag, and the squeak of her favorite toy. Walks down the hall grew bolder. Her blindness didn't define her. It was merely one facet of her joyful puppy personality. Vet checkups became routine. Nandy was always full of puppy energy. She barreled into the exam room with Boots padding behind as always. This time, Dr. Sumner crouched down to run a gentle hand along Boots' flank. "You know," he mused, "it's odd. Boots was always a loner, never paid the other clinic residents much mind. Yet, with Nandy." He trailed off, as if just realizing the significance of this feline devotion. Janice asked if Boots was a stray too, and he nodded. "Came in with some serious injuries a few years back, including damaged eyes. She couldn't see for 5 months." Dr. Sumner's voice was quiet. Never thought much about it, but now, understanding dawned in his eyes. The pieces of the puzzle suddenly snapped into place with a force that made her gasp. Years passed. Afternoon sunlight through the trees cast dappled shadows on the worn grass. Nandy was now a sleek adult dog. She bounded in joyous pursuit of a familiar tabby shape. Boots playfully evaded the clumsy lunges. They were a mismatched pair, the big, boisterous dog and the smaller, agile cat. Yet they moved with perfect synchronicity. Janice perched on a nearby bench. Gone was the pitying woman who'd once carried a dying puppy into a vet room. In its place was boundless wonder. Nandy's blindness and Boots' own hidden disability had faded into the background. What she saw was a pure, unadulterated connection, the power of found family. She left them outside and posted a short story about the two and a couple of pics on social media. Blind Puppy was about to be put down. Look what the cat did. It's a miracle. And she knew, with a heart full of warmth, that the miracle was not simply survival. It was the profound understanding that bloomed between two creatures who saw the world not with their eyes, but with their hearts. Do you have a story that disproves the enmity between cats and dogs? Tell us about it in the comments. We'd love to hear. For now, though, we're done. Catch you in the next video.